Welcome to Blood, Guts, and Booze.
I'm Olivia.
And I'm Kendrah, and this is a comedy podcast here to frighten you and make you question the world that we live in. So sit back with your favorite snacks and let's dive into this. Listener discretion is advised, as these podcasts are not for the faint of heart, nor are they PG. So, this week, I want to touch on a case that has always stuck with me. I feel like everybody has one of those cases. It may even be what really got me into true crime. Last time I talked about Columbine, something with a horrific ending. Today's case may be a horrific story, but it does have a surprisingly happy ending.
Yay.
Today, Boo Crew, I'm talking about the brave and inspirational Elizabeth Smart.
I haven't heard much about her. I do know of her case a little bit, but not in depth, so I'm excited to hear this.
All right, well, sit back and learn.
I'll sip my peach iced tea.
All right.
While I take it all in.
So sometime between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. on June 5th, 2002, in Salt Lake City, Utah, Elizabeth was kidnapped. A man by the name of Brian David Mitchell had cut a hole in the screen of the Smart family's kitchen window. He then walked up to Elizabeth's bedroom and stole her from her own bed. Literally every parent's worst nightmare. The one place that you imagine that your children are safe is in their own bed. And he just came and took her.
Yeah, especially like you said, that it's somewhere safe that you think nothing would ever happen. I've heard of a few different cases, like one that happened here in Ontario. I was telling you earlier about We Were Young, similar story. You'll have to look into that another time, but it's heartbreaking, especially, like you said, it's a safe place, right? You don't expect it.
Yeah. Her little sister, Mary Catherine, was in bed with Elizabeth when it happened, but she pretended to stay asleep. Once that she felt it was safe, she ran to her parents' bedroom and told them that Elizabeth was gone. A quote from Elizabeth's book reads, "I woke up with my little sister sleeping beside me, a dark man standing over me, and a knife to my throat. Rough hands were pressed upon my body as the stranger leaned over, his dirty beard against my face. 'I have a knife to your neck,' he whispered. His voice was soft but very serious. 'Don't make a sound, get out of bed, or I will kill you and your family.' Before dawn, though, Elizabeth had realized that the man was not a stranger.
Nope.
He led her outside across a field and up a mountain towards a camp where his wife, Wanda Barzee, was waiting for them, and Elizabeth's 9 months of torture to begin. But before they made it, Elizabeth realized that she knew the man with the knife. Brian David Mitchell was a self-proclaimed angel and went by the name Emmanuel. He frequented downtown Salt Lake City, panhandling for money. One day, Elizabeth's mother had given him money and her husband's phone number. Emmanuel then did some handiwork around the Smarts' home. He knew Elizabeth and exactly how to take her. The pair finally reached the camp where Wanda was. Wanda brought Elizabeth into the tent, washed her feet, and then made her strip off her pajamas and put on a robe. Then, Brian entered the tent, making Wanda leave. He declared Elizabeth his wife, then, with his real wife's permission, raped Elizabeth.
Ew.
Yeah.
What a sick fuck.
Side note from what I read, too, she was screaming that she's a virgin, and he yelled out of the tent and asked her if it was still okay, and the wife yelled back, yes.
Well, she's even more of a sick fuck for saying that it's okay.
Just wait. For the next 9 months, he would rape Elizabeth every single day, often more than once. To keep her from escaping, they had her shackled by her ankle around a tree, and she was also told to pick a new name. She chose Esther because Elizabeth was a Mormon and it was a name from the Bible. But Mitchell called her Sheer Jazhub. Sheer Jazhub. It's hard to pronounce. Look it up. Besides being raped, she was also starved and kept without water for days. Sometimes the only thing that she had to eat was literally garbage. She was abused, manipulated, forced to look at pornographic images, which was extra torture because of her incredible Mormon faith. She was forced to drink and do drugs in an effort to lower her resistance to Mitchell, and, of course, constantly threatened that he would kill her. But she was determined to survive, determined to go back to her family and determined to live.
Poor girl.
Yeah. In July, Mitchell decided that he wanted another wife for them and attempted to take another bride. This girl was Elizabeth's cousin, Olivia.
What? Me?
Yep. But thankfully he failed. Elizabeth often joined Mitchell and Barzy down in Salt Lake City, but was always wearing a headscarf and a veil, so she was not recognized. She was almost recognized in August when they were at a public library. A detective began questioning the trio, but Mitchell convinced him to leave them alone, and that it was against their religion for her to remove her face coverings. Could you imagine that, though? Your child is missing, being held basically behind your house, and she's walking around your city in your library, and you have no idea.
Especially because most child kidnappings, the kids are dead within, 48 hours?
Yeah.
So, like, you're probably assuming at this point, as much as you want to think she's alive, that she's probably dead. And in this case, as bad as this sounds, she's probably better off dead instead of going through that torture.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know that's bad to say, but...
But for months, you could have ran into your family.
Yeah. Like, and all that suffering, like, I'd rather not suffer. Just get rid of me. Don't torture me like that.
So in September, the trio moved to San Diego, where they lived in an encampment in a dry creek bed, often moving. Mitchell was even arrested for shoplifting during this time and spent several nights in jail, leaving the women at the camp without food or water for that time. But sadly, he was released and came right back to torturing Elizabeth. Now, do you remember Mary Catherine, her little sister?
Yes.
In October, she suddenly realized why she knew the voice of the man that took Elizabeth that night. The authorities were skeptical, though. So the Smart family had a sketch artist draw a photo of Emmanuel, and in February, the image was released to the public. At this time, Elizabeth was somehow convincing her captors to return to Salt Lake City.
Smart girl.
On their journey back, thankfully, Brian David Mitchell was identified by 2 different eyewitnesses as being with 2 women. And on March 12, 2003, Elizabeth Smart was found safe and alive in Sandy, Utah. Now I have some updates on the 3 of them. Brian David Mitchell is currently serving a life sentence without parole. Wanda Barzy has been released from prison and is on probation for the next 4 years. And she currently lives near an elementary school, which caused a lot of debate in the news recently. Elizabeth Smart is a child safety activist and commentator for ABC News. She founded the Elizabeth Smart Foundation, which aims to bring hope and end the victimization and exploitation of sexual assault. She plays the harp, has written 3 books, and did a documentary about her experience. She graduated college and became a missionary, and she is currently married and says that she is happy and blessed.
Well, I'm very glad that it worked out for her and she made it through because, like we just said, not many kids are still alive after 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I can't imagine, going through that. Like, I don't have kids, but it still, if I did, the heartbreak, right?
She said that God was the main thing that kept her going through all of this because of her Mormon faith. And I have one of her books. I read it. And it is truly a heartbreaking tale. But to read something like that from the victim's point of view really changes your perspective on it. I believe it was called My Story. I suggest, all my listeners buy it and read it because it's seriously great. And, any money that goes to her is going to go to something great with the Elizabeth Smart Foundation.
Yeah, probably to her foundation.
She's traveled to all kinds of things and places. Most recently, she was actually on The Masked Dancer.
Oh.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah. So she's still out there in the media and stuff, and she still fights all the time and comments on other missing children cases. And, she's not the only one who has gone missing where basically all hope has been lost and been found.
JC, isn't it? JC?
J.C. Lee Dugard
Yep.
is another one I would
I
eventually
have her
like to
book.
talk about.
I have her book.
I'm reading one of her books right now.
Oh.
One of the books about her, not hers. Yeah, and you know, there's Colleen Stan, there's Steven Stainer, there's Katie Beers, there's, you know, a whole list. Ariel Castro, the three girls.
Yeah.
There is, you know, if your child's ever taken, there is hope, and you know, stories like this make you want to believe that there is hope. But at the same time, there's sadly a lot of stories out there where all hope is lost, where either you never get an answer or you get an answer that you don't want.
Yep.
You know? But
like, and I can't imagine the trauma and the aftermath effects of going through something like that, especially pretty much being sexually tortured by your neighbor of all people. Like, you know, that
someone
would
who's from
really
your community
fuck me up, like, like that would just fuck you up in general, like, just ugh. I don't like rapey things.
Well,
they're not fun.
All right, well, I'm gonna keep bothering you with other rape cases. I'm sorry, because
well,
sadly,
that's the job.
Sadly, a lot of fucked up people that are into stealing and murdering rape sadly comes along with it a lot. And you know, I also hate anything rapey, like the one movie Last House on the Left.
No.
Yeah, Last House on the Left.
Like,
I still can't sit through that scene. I seen this one video on the internet once, and it was teaching about consent, but it was about drinking tea. If you can find it, watch it. It is the most amazing thing. But it basically shows how you can't force someone to drink a cup of tea. You can't, if they're passed out, you can't force the tea down their throat. If they say they want tea and change their mind, if you say that, but if you think of it as that perspective of a cup of tea, then, you know, it seems ridiculous to be forcing someone to drink tea. But then you think about it, and the whole message is about rape, then, you know.
Well, there's, right now, I know you're not really on TikTok, but I am.
No.
But there is a very good TikTok trend going on right now with the women on there, and not just women, like people of all genders. But it's talking about how, like, a girl went out one night and she's in a tank top and a skirt.
How dare she?
Right? And how she's walking down the street and some guy asked if she wanted to go back to his place, and she said no. And he's like, you know, basically calling her, like, a slut. They don't say that on TikTok, but that's basically what they're implying, that it's her fault. Like, why would you dress like that if you didn't want it? But just because somebody dresses a little more prerogative doesn't mean...
Or comfortable.
Yeah, or comfortable, exactly, yeah. I mean, like, whatever your taste is, right? I mean, I just mean, like, specifically with this, it was like a story of a girl going out, right? So, and you know how we all like to, you know, perk things up when we go out and to the bar with our friends. And, like, but that doesn't mean we're there for you to automatically assume we're easy or anything like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're not, like, no means no consent. Like, there's a line.
Teach your boys.
Take a hint when a girl is, you know, being hesitant and trying, like, is saying no, you know, please take it very seriously. Like, because you don't know if that girl's already been assaulted once before and she's, you know, like, because a lot of people don't speak up on that stuff, right? And
Hashtag me too.
Hashtag me too. And
I have that bumper sticker on my vehicle.
I should get one. As I just got a vehicle like 2 years ago and I don't have anything on it. But that's besides the point. You know, take that into consideration, especially because almost every, at least woman that I know, has been sexually assaulted or assaulted at least
or
once. Harassed.
But something I want to bring up too is that it's not just women.
Oh,
Men,
no. That's why I said, like, for me specifically, it's women that I know. But that's why earlier I said, like, people. Like,
yeah,
you know,
men,
with their experiences.
men have been raped, but they get a lot of stigma because they're like, well, you know.
People don't believe them in
why
those
wouldn't
situations.
you want a girl to force sex on you? That's great, you know. You're a man.
Why would a man be upset about that, right? Like, but that doesn't mean that you guys, you know, still don't experience those things. Because there are some pretty sick women out there, like those teachers that harass, not
the
harass,
ones that
but
have
you know,
sex with their students.
yeah,
and
like
gross.
you know, that's a good example of that.
I don't
You know what
care.
I
I'm
mean?
going to
Like,
use the P word. You're a pedophile if you are a grown ass adult woman and you want
over
to
the
have
age of
sex
18.
with a child. I don't care. If they're 16, they are a child. We talked about that last time when I was covering Columbine, that if you're under 18, I fully believe that you're a child.
Yep.
Also, quick sidebar here. I looked it up, and the T consent video was made by someone called Blue Seat Studios. Just want to credit them there. You know, that you should look that up. It really is an amazing video. And, you know, Thames Valley Police have shared it. You know, they've used it. But yeah, there was a case many years ago, I don't remember how long, but about a woman who actually, she kidnapped a man or something, tied him up, fed him Viagra, and raped him for hours on end in the back of his shop or something. So it does happen, you know. It's not just a, you know, women thing, but at the same time, I feel like throughout history, even now, a lot of the times the women are blamed for how they dress, how they act, how they speak, whatever, but a lot of the times it is not brought up as to how the man was raised or how
Nature versus nurture, just like our last true crime episode.
You should teach people, not men, women, whatever, people, about consent in their bodies. And you can teach that at a very young age. I have a child who's young. No more details than that, of course. But, you know, I teach them consent. You know, it's easy to teach young children. They've started teaching sex ed in Canada, I believe kindergarten grade 1 now.
I think so.
But it's not, when you hear that you think, oh, gross, sex ed at that age. It's not sex ed at that age. It is, this is my
learning those boundaries.
This is my body, this is my area, and this is the area where I tell if somebody touches it. No one but me touches this area unless, you know, it's apparent for the purpose of a serious thing like sickness, cleaning, you know, and it's apparent in the same gender or whatever.
Yeah.
And you can also teach them, you know,
and like on age too, right? Like,
yeah, and you know, they also learn around that age that it's, you know, this is my body, I get to choose who touches it. And it doesn't matter if you're a man, a woman, transgender, somewhere in between on that wide scale, you get to choose who touches your body at the end of the day, no matter what.
Because, like, that, you are your own property. That's not for anybody else, unless that's, you know, with, like we keep saying, consent, permission. Because that, like, that's your kink. With consent, go forth. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's plenty of rape fantasies.
Yeah, but, like, you know, we're not here to,
fantasy,
like, totally ick anybody's yum. But
fantasy and reality are very different.
Exactly.
You know, I don't care what kind of kink you've got. If you're one of those people that likes to watch the videos of women sitting in cakes, whatever. I don't care. But, you know, a fantasy versus a reality is very different. And, you know, you can fantasize
don't take it
to an
more
extent
than a fantasy, yeah.
about certain things. But, you know, at the same time, you know, people like Brian David Mitchell here, he had fantasies of having a young bride, and he took it. You know, he took those fantasies, and, you know, many years before this, I'm sure
made them real.
That he was, you know, fantasizing and possibly doing things to other young girls out there that maybe I didn't notice when I was looking up, because I was focusing just on her, not so much him.
Yeah. Just unfortunate that it had to be Elizabeth. I mean, shouldn't have been any child, but
at the same time, you have to wonder, too, what point of fantasizing should somebody be stepping in and questioning their fantasies? Because clearly his fantasies were so bad, and he was delusional. He had, I believe, 3 different mistrials, or it kept getting pushed back. So Elizabeth had to keep reliving this horror because she had to keep going through these trials because no one could decide if he was competent enough to stand trial. Because the man was fucking crazy. But it was, is he medically crazy, or is he just a fucking sick bastard? Which is very different, So they had to go through so much to prove him guilty of this. He was clearly guilty, but it was, is he guilty enough to go to prison, or is he guilty where he needs to be in a mental institute? Thankfully, at the end of this, he went to prison, where he really should be. He might be mentally ill. You have to be mentally ill to want to steal a child. I don't care.
And do the things that he did to a child.
Yeah, and I mean, to be thinking that you need the another child bride, whatever. If you're one of those people in, like, Utah or wherever it is that has the sister wives and stuff, whatever, I'm not judging.
Like we said, we're not here to ick anybody's yum, but...
Unless it hits certain morals in society, like, I know that, polygamy is a thing. I do have a case eventually I'd like to touch with something like that, because there's even limits with things like that, But... the idea that he wanted another wife, that's all fine and dandy. Go get yourself a consenting adult to be your second wife.
Plus?
A consenting adult to be your other wife, where you don't have to... If you want a wife, you shouldn't have to chain her to a tree to keep her there.
Yeah.
End of story, But anyways, the whole point of this is, when I was younger, I can still remember, I think I was in maybe grade 6 or 7, seeing Elizabeth Smart's face on the front of a newspaper. And it was the first time I really learned about how horrible this world can be. And it was the first time that I really felt afraid of the world. There was certain sketchy people growing up where, your mom always said, don't talk to that guy, stranger danger, all that stuff. But
especially because she's, like, our age. Isn't she around our age?
Yes. Yeah, she's 33 years old, so she's
a little bit older than us.
A little bit older than us, but at the same time, it was, close enough that,
It still hits close to home, though. Like...
Yeah, as another...
that could have been us.
Young girl, There's a young girl from around here that's been taken,
That's a story for...
Again, we've got tons and tons of stories for you, but, it really, really always stuck with me. It was just one of those cases where it was like I couldn't learn enough about what she went through. I feel like I didn't go through all of the dirty details, and I feel like I don't always have to. It's unnecessary, and certain people, I want to respect them, and she's just one of those people that I... so respect and idolize, almost, I would say, in my life, because she went through all of this and she persevered through it. She did the possible best that she could in her life, and she became this amazing woman who, she's played her...
made it for her so well.
She's just, I...
made up for all the bad in her life.
I'm honored to be able to talk about her. I'm sure that she will never hear this. But if she did, I would probably...
Tweet us, Elizabeth Smart.
I'm sure that I would probably die from excitement if she ever possibly even thought about me. But, that I don't need it. But I just idolize this woman because of what she has gone through, and...
She's so courageous, like...
She's an inspiration. She really is. And she goes out of her way to help other people that have gone through similar situations like her. I don't remember what she said, but I know that she's commented when J.C. Lee Dugard came out of and was found, and, other girls and stuff, and I believe she's been to the White House and spoke, and she's just an amazing, amazing person. And I know that we got a little off topic with the rape and the consent and stuff,
but... just a very serious topic, though.
yeah, the last week and this week, I feel like we've done some very serious kind of things. And I mean, the week before I got pretty serious with mine too. I feel like,
a little hard to not be serious with true crime.
I feel like we might be a comedy podcast, but we're a very light kind of comedy in a way.
More sarcastic comedy.
Yeah, a serious comedic. I'll make jokes, but at the same time,
we take everything seriously.
Yes.
Just like last week's episode with the alien abductions was, also a very serious topic. And story as well, right? So, we're not here just to crack jokes. We do take a lot of, this stuff seriously.
Yes, because, like for you, like paranormal and, cryptics and aliens, it's your passion. For me, true crime is my passion. I've always had this thing where I've been obsessed with it since, I first learned about Elizabeth Smart, and around the same time...
I was Ed Gein.
Yeah, for me, around the same time that Elizabeth Smart's story was happening, a friend of our family went missing and was later found. And it just kind of all happened at once. And since then, I've just, and my mom, she's one of those people that is constantly watching the news. So she's always telling me all of the crappy things going on in the world. And, we used to watch the news when I was a kid, so, hey, Mom. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. Thanks for getting me into this. I know you're going to be listening later. Because I'm going to be texting you for, the next 2 days going, Mom, did you listen yet?
I'll be doing it too.
Yeah. Yeah. Because Olivia also loves my mom. But,
we text. Sometimes.
Stop being my mom's friend. It's weird.
But I love her.
It's okay. Everybody loves her. All of my friends have always loved my mother. But yeah, it was just a time where I really learned about the terribleness of the world, and it just kind of stuck with me, and I feel like I've just related her to that time where I learned. It was like my beautiful childhood bubble was finally bursted, and it was like, I knew people who died before that. I knew of people that had been killed before that, but it was just, for whatever reason, this case...
It was somebody close to your age, so it just hit a little
my
harder.
Innocence bubble, And
your innocent bubble.
In a way that sounds rapey, but, it's not the way I intended it. But,
Let us know if you want us to put that on a merch t-shirt.
Jesus Christ, Olivia. You need to fuck off. But anyways, thank you very much. Next week, I don't know what Olivia's doing because she likes to keep me in suspense.
And I'm always like, yeah, I got something set in stone, and then I change it 3 hours beforehand, and I'm like, hey, I'm doing something else.
But I will give you a hint for my next topic, and we'll see if on our Facebook page, if you can figure it out. My next one, all I'm going to tell you is that if you like riddles, you are going to enjoy this topic.
I'll give you guys a small hint of mine, if I can commit. But only if you guys start guessing on our Facebook page what Kendra's case is. Then I'll give you an official hint.
You cheesy, cheesy bastard.
Reeling you in.
Anyways, we will talk to you next week.
Yeah. See you later, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Special thanks to Dylan Sears for the theme song and Sally Gunter for the cover art. Support us on Patreon and like, share, rate, and subscribe to us on all of our social media pages and your podcast streaming service. Do you have any personal stories or suggestions for the show? Email us at bloodgutsandbooze@gmail.com.